All right, welcome back, viewers, to our another exciting episode of our podcast series, the Young Turks Dialogues by Crobstacle, and this is our episode number 88, just 12 short of 100. And today we have a very exciting guest with us, Jermina, with over 30 plus years of experience in marketing, what you guys have been asking for. So today we got experience, today we got a lot of questions. So before we begin this episode, Jermina, first of all, thank you so much for joining in today. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good because your program is called Young Turks and it's good to feel young again.
Yeah, actually, Young Turks is basically anyone who is young at heart.
Absolutely. And young in mind.
Yes, young at heart and wide. So today we are going to be discussing all that. So, Jermina, you have done so much. You are LinkedIn top voice right now. You are an angel investor. You are, you have been into marketing for decades. Most of the people who are watching, their age will be equal to your experience in marketing. So with this such a long journey, why not we discuss a bit about your journey so the audience knows you well, because I won't be able to do justice to tell about you for those 30 years. So that experience counts. So why not you begin and tell, for 2 to 3 minutes, just tell about your journey so that all the entrepreneurs who are watching, they know you. And then we will begin with our podcast.
So I was always drawn to marketing, but I started my career as an accountant because I was also a cost accountant by qualification along with BCom. And 30, 35 years back, 20-year-olds, they took the first job that came. And the job that came to me was in an ad agency, Lintas, but as an accountant. So I said, घुस तो जाते हैं, बाद में देखेंगे क्या करना है. So I started over there. 3 years later, I got married and I was shifting to Bangalore. So I asked not only for a transfer, but I also asked for shifting to actual marketing, account management. They kind of humored me. So I had a 15-year long career in advertising, worked with a lot of big brands, Unilever, Compaq Computers, ITC Foods. And it was really learning on the job, working with the big brands, really going out over there, talking to customers, seeing how people buy, them creating campaigns. After some time, I felt I was stagnating and I wanted to go to the other side, actually become a client. So I also did my executive MBA at that time from IIM Bangalore. So it was great to go back into the classroom, re-energize myself. I think it was needed because, marketing is a niche, advertising is a niche of a niche. So to actually go out there and, realize that there is a lot more possibilities, I think is the best thing I could have done to myself. And that's when I decided to shift to marketing and retail. When I started in retail, we didn't still have the first mall in the country. So, it was brick and mortar stores, organized retail was coming in. It was at 4% and 6%, those kind of numbers. Then the malls came in. I worked for a lot of big malls in Bangalore, interacted with a lot of retailers. Then came COVID, and COVID kind of, got me jobless, which was a good thing because I went into this entrepreneurial mode and became a solopreneur consultant. And the first 2 years was really working with SME and D2C brands which were largely offline, how to get them online. So
Okay,
that is exactly what I focused on.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So, from Sunfeast, Wrangler to Bhartiya Convergence, Uniquin, there are so many brands you have worked with. Spans from legacy brands to new age marketplaces, everything in between. So, what's your most energizing pivot besides your MB, this brand?
I think the most energizing was becoming a solopreneur because I had worked for almost 25 plus years. The comfort of a salary was something which, you never want to leave. In fact, the two jobs prior to the one where I became a consultant pre-pandemic, both the times when I was looking for a change, my friends would keep saying that, you have so much experience, you know so many people, why don't you go solo? So people had more confidence in me being able to do it, and I had never thought of it. And I kept thinking, why are people saying that? I like what I do, and it's okay if I get another job. But I think the pandemic was the aha moment
Yeah.
where it also struck that I was going to be 50 and I was not really going to be in the job market as seen as a good choice as I was probably even 5 years back. And it was also the right time to pivot. I don't know what it was about the pandemic. I just said, okay, I have to do it now because do saal baad, nobody thought pandemic would be the way it was. So if somebody says kya kiya naukri gayi, so I kept myself busy. I thought it will be a great interview answer. Next I knew, I became the solopreneur. I was interacting with a lot of brands. We were getting some very, very good results. The world was changing rapidly. There was a lot of learning on the job. You know, you started with online. Online earlier was just Google ads or Instagram ads, but then you realize you had to be on marketplaces. Later on, quick commerce came in. So many more possibilities came in with all these digital medias and the way the customer consumption pattern changed. I think it was very energizing to kind of be doing so many different things when you think it's the last leg of your career. So I think
Right.
that is what I really enjoyed the most, because that was an actual pivot. Everything you thought worked and yet did not work. So trying to
Hmm.
get that together.
Right. Interesting. COVID has changed all of us. Even I was at job. I thought I just started my career and got laid off. Like I started in 2016, then 2020 got laid off, and then I started my own company. So COVID changed
And
us all.
see how well you've done for yourself. You just didn't
Yeah,
start a company. You started so much more.
that was the best decision. And at that time, I was like in pandemic. Oh, how will I earn revenue? And I did not know anything about entrepreneurship. And 4 years of experience is not that much to start a
True,
company.
true.
But yeah, pandemic. So you have
Awesome.
seen marketing evolve from billboard to browsers to buy now buttons and now quick
Yeah.
commerce. So what's one principle that you think that never goes out of style?
So you'll always hear me say this, be customer centric. And customer centric means create products customer wants, market them the way that it tells a customer it's fulfilling a need of yours, market them where they can buy it. So I think that customer centricity hasn't changed. You know, products have changed, where they are available has changed, how you consume the marketing has changed for the customer. But customer centricity can never go out of style. So that is something I focus a lot on.
That makes a lot of sense. The platforms have changed, but I think yeah, customer
The
centric.
customer is the same. He's just buying in different places, or he's consuming your advertising or marketing content differently. That's what has happened.
And what about the current, 2025? What do you think is where, there is so much noise on the internet, like unlimited
Absolutely.
noise, I will say. So
Yes.
in that noise, how do you gather that customer centricity attention? Even I make a good campaign.
So
I
I
think
think it again comes down to really knowing your customers. The one advantage digital has given, which analog advertising didn't give, in the days when I was doing advertising, early days of my marketing, we always said, who is that one customer?
hmm,
Today, internet allows you to have two, three types of customers. So, you know,
persona.
when you look at, yeah, persona branding, you know, so you're not just stuck. So if I talk of, let's say, a beauty product, yeah, while it's talking to the teenagers, it's talking to the Gen Zs, it's also talking to the millennials, and it's also talking to Gen Xers like me who will also consume the product. So most categories have customers from 0 to 60 or 6 to 60, but earlier you would only talk to one customer. Now you can talk to many other customers. So how do you really kind of, you know, talk to these multiple customers, but with a single proposition? Your proposition cannot change.
Right. That is true. Hmm. Makes sense. So, tell me one thing. Like you mentioned that when you started as a solopreneur, so you were working with a lot of brands, majorly retail guys who wanted to go
Yes.
digital now, right?
Yeah.
So, what kind of things you started to tell them? Because in Dehradun, if I talk about, so here these brick and mortar people, they are like, for 80 years I've been doing this. Why I should go digital? It is not something for me. And
True.
there are so many perspectives that I get, but everybody is like, these guys do not understand it well. So how did you, were able to make them understand and were able to help them go digital? And you mentioned that results. So of course, results. Yeah.
So I actually interacted with two types of retailers or entrepreneurs. One set who didn't, and both had one thing in common: they didn't want to go online at the start of 2020. Yeah, they thought online बाद में देखेंगे, अभी offline बहुत अच्छा चल रहा है, kind of a thing. But there were two sets. One who within a month understood online, I need to survive the pandemic, even if they didn't believe it was long time. And the other who said, pandemic khatam ho jayega, things will be back to normal. Needless to say, the first lot, the mindset change was very important to do the digital transformation, versus the second lot, which didn't do, and they actually lagged behind. They came in 21, 22 to digital. By then, digital had become very evolved. The second thing, because I was working with a lot of SME and, you know, mid-sized brands, not very large brands, Now they have challenges in terms of talent as well as use of resources. So I think typically my first job is to always turn around and say, what is the problem statement? You need to create that problem statement, because you speak to the sales guy, he will say something. You speak to the marketing team person, he says something. Product says something else. CEO has a very different vision. So you need to kind of listen to all of them. And I'm a numbers person. Then I look at the numbers. Numbers tell a very different story. So
Correct.
till you don't turn around and put the numbers together and then say, this is where I am today, this is where I want to be tomorrow, you cannot create that bridge. So it was really about understanding that. I'll give you an example. I worked with a luxury chocolate brand, which had, cakes were top selling on Swiggy, Zomato at that time. And when I asked all the 4 or 5 business heads, which are the top 3 products, the first product, everybody said the same, and it is their bestseller for over a decade. The second and third, everybody said something different. And when you went to the numbers, the second and third were very different. So, which means that people were doing their work, but they were so involved that they were not really looking into the details. So, I think it was about going into the details, the science of marketing, and then the art of it, of how do you really communicate it. And then when all these channels came, they started throwing very different data. Here was a retailer who was looking only at, store sales, but he launched a website bill sizes were different, items bought were different. Swiggy, Zomato was something else. 2 years later, they launched on Amazon. Amazon sold very different stuff. So you suddenly had a very complex product portfolio and complex way of, managing it, but you had the digital tools to do it better than when you had a simpler product line and a simpler solution.
Right. Digital brought in more complexity.
It brought in complexity. It also showed how to make it uncomplex. I
Uncommon.
think complexity came with the number of channels and choice, but
Right.
managing them was much, much easier than managing a simpler, supply
Right.
chain or a retail chain kind of a thing.
So you mentioned about channels. So like there is one brick and mortar, then there is digital first, then there are omni channel. So what does each format teach us about human behavior? Like what is your take on it? Like is it different for the same audience or how?
So for the same product or brand, and you'll hear many D2C retailers, if you ever interview them, that they do actually behave differently. What I buy in a store is slightly different from what I buy online. And in online, again, if I talk of a food product, what I buy on the brand's website versus what I buy on a Swiggy, Zomato, or what I buy on Amazon could be different. I think same thing goes for maybe fashion and beauty. In the store, I will shop differently. And in the store, typically, you will always have higher bill sizes. It's easier to upsell in a store than it is to do online. Own brand channel, again, your bill size will be better. When you go to marketplaces, you go to a Myntra, you go to a Nykaa, you go to an Amazon, that's where the discounts and the competition lowers your bill size, and also perhaps the basket size, because customer now is looking at a variety of products in what they want versus a single brand's offering. So that's how it changes. And quick commerce, of course, if you're listed and available, you sell, otherwise you don't.
Quick commerce, but one thing in quick commerce I've seen is we only buy for discounts.
It's actually the most expensive channel. Customers are not realizing that right now.
Yes, but what I see is even in our office. So every day, Blinkit, Zepto, I see packages keep on coming, and then I ask these guys. So they say then since Blinkit and Zepto has come into our lives, we do not we have become more carefree, and you know how the generation after 2000 is. So they are like buying like crazy. I even think sometimes that they should give their salary to me.
So next
They're
time, do
buying.
one thing, trouble them by opening the same thing on an Amazon and Myntra and saying कि देखो मैं 100 रुपए कम में खरीद रहा हूँ.
Yes, actually, if you see वो 9 रुपए का एक कुछ फीस लगाएंगे, then bag का अलग से, and these days I don't know what they, but yeah, I've seen this, and I've even seen one more thing. I don't know how true it is that these applications on iOS they show a different rate, and and on Android they show a different rate. You have come across a case like this?
You can build solutions which enable that, and yes, it happens. I think I always pay highest for Uber the price of having an iPhone for decades.
Okay, then that is true. So tell me one thing, like what's one big modern D2C founder? What is that one big thing that modern D2C founders underestimate about offline retail?
I think they don't realize how customers shop there,
Hmm.
and more important, how many customers shop there. Also, understand it's not easy to do offline retail because in Amazon, for example, you list on Amazon, you have access to 10,000 pin codes. So even if you're a city-centric retailer, say you're targeting Bangalore or Dehradun, whole Bangalore, whole Dehradun can be delivered by Amazon. But a whole Bangalore to service with offline retail, depending on your product category, you need anything from 100 to 1,000 stores.
Right.
Maybe in a Dehradun, it could be 100 to 500 or 700. But the point is, the width of distribution can really take the mickey out of you. So
Mm.
that's where the big challenge is, and which is where it's easier to think, let me live without it.
That
Okay.
is where people are like, let me just do online, and once I have
Yeah,
revenue.
yeah, exactly. And offline retail is not just about the big chains like a Reliance or a More supermarket or anything. It's about those 100 Kirana stores between the multiple Reliance or, More supermarkets kind of a thing. So that is where the challenge is. You can still tie up with the organized retailers and, one Reliance, you do a deal with, you are in probably 50% of the stores in a city to begin with. But there are another 200 Kirana stores who are competing with those 50 stores, and entry into that is not easy.
Right. And those Kirana stores, I think they have loyalty as well. Because if I
They have
go,
very high loyalty, they have very high trust,
yes,
very, very high trust. So that is something you can never underestimate.
right. And but there is of course that one thing that I've been hearing from these Kirana store people here in Dehradun as well, that these organizations that they have come with all of these services, it is hurting their business, but they also say that we have trust in our customers, something like that. I don't exactly remember. I was talking to this Kirana store guy. I've been going there for like 15 years. So he says my sales are down, but I know that my customers, they are loyal to me. They will come to me. I said that you give the bread that you are selling for 5 rupees extra. I get it 5 rupees less there. So that is going on in the market, and I think Kirana stores are being hurt in some way or the other.
But there are very smart Kirana store people also. I must admit that. Like, if you need a particular product, and as a person who loves to cook, I'm very particular about the ingredients. So if a certain thing is not there, and I ask the guy at the Kirana store, he'll say, "Madam, sham tak mil jayega,"
Hmm.
and they get it. Now that's something a Zepto or a Blinkit can't do,
They
nor
will
can an Amazon do.
they will never, right.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Kirana is more
but
like
yeah, but
specialization,
they're not very frequent purchases. So yes, that is where the challenge is.
right. So if a D2C brand today, let's say it's a case study kind of a thing, if a D2C brand today only had 1 lakh rupees to launch,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
marketing moves would you prioritize for them based on your experience?
I think one of the best strategies a lot of D2C founders have done is become their own brand ambassadors and brand things. So don't spend money on an ambassador or on an influencer. Speak about your own brand. And I would think Instagram is the way to go because Instagram is also the branding channel and the sales channel. And through Instagram, we've seen in a lot of brands, you advertise on Instagram, you put a shop now, which takes to your Shopify website, but you also see your Amazon and Myntra and Nika sales going up. So Instagram really has the ripple effect. So I would vouch for Instagram.
Earlier it was TikTok as well.
I never got onto TikTok, so I never know.
So for the brands we work for USA and Australia or all of these other places, so TikTok works very well.
Yeah,
Instagram,
it's a bigger channel than Instagram,
yeah.
definitely.
Especially in the US, what I have seen is that TikTok creates the trend and then that gets followed on all the other channels.
Yes,
Because
very
the
much. Oh,
so-called TikTok influencers have been doing very well.
yes, they have. They have been very well.
So tell me one thing, like in the world where we talk data, performance, how do you balance between emotional storytelling and performance-driven marketing? Because I think that is something we as performance marketers have forgotten, that the principle stays the same. Of course, channel is performance.
So I think this is the fundamental explanation of marketing. Marketing has been, in the old textbook style, it's called as art and science. I would say science and art. I prefer saying that way because the science is first the numbers. Like I said, see what your past performance is, see where you want to go, and then you put the path going from A to B. But art is how you reach from point A to point B, which is where you get into your customer understanding. If you're doing a channel specific communication, tread on that. You're doing any particular influencer campaign, ensure your influencer aligns with your brand values and your customers' values. You can't be doing a solo influencer campaign just because I follow this influencer. I assume everybody who follows me, my brand, will also follow that influencer. So I think that is where it comes in, and you have to experiment. You have to experiment, which is where tools like A/B testing come very effective, because you can actually try a proposition one and try a proposition two and see which is working better. So that is what I would do. I think it is about really getting authentic, really creating fun. Be clear about your audience. If it's a Gen Z, you have to speak that Gen Z lingo no matter if others do not understand. But you also create a campaign for millennials who probably will not understand what the Gen Zs are understanding. But the brand ethos cannot change. Brand has to be the same, the communication style differs.
Got it. Yeah. So there is one thing, like you have also now got as a solopreneur. So there is one thing that clients always come down to is ROI. So how do you define ROI in marketing in today's era and the impact?
So I don't think ROI was ever negotiable. What digital has done is actually made it measurable. In the good old days, you put a hoarding, you had to wait 6 months to say कि उस area में sales बढ़ा है कि नहीं बढ़ा है. You take a newspaper ads were still fine because by the weekend you knew whether the campaign had worked, how many inquiries you get it, how many walk-ins you get in. But digital today has made every stop measurable. And what happens with every step measurable is, first are your clicks. If you're not getting great clicks, it's a sign that your creative is not working. After getting clicks on the landing page, if you're not getting people to shortlist, could also mean that is your creative and your landing page not really talking the same thing or not getting the right customer. So then you need to tweak your campaign accordingly. And finally, the buyer. So what are the buyers buying? You have bid on 100 keywords, but are only 20 keywords getting you those sales? Are only 30 keywords getting you the clicks? Then you need to get very focused in how you're campaigning, or look at similar keywords to kind of broaden your net. So it has made it measurable, but it has also made it very hence number driven, and emotions hence are going on. So what you're talking of storytelling, that still has an impact. So you also need to measure campaign wise metrics, not just on a monthly or a weekly or a SKU level. So even see at a campaign levels which campaigns are doing better. And virality of course is very important. So how much are people sharing? That also should be a very important metric, because share shows a customer emotion embedded in it. So you will have to make your own ROI metrics over and above what Google and Instagram give you.
Right. That is true. So tell me one thing, for young marketers, what's one campaign you have worked on that taught you a surprising lesson about consumer psychology?
So this is a very, very old campaign. I'm like literally going back to 2004, because I think it was also my aha moment in marketing. This was Sunfeast has Yippee noodles. So before Yippee noodles, they had actually launched a brand called Pasta Treat. And we were launching that product. And it was, instead of noodles, they decided let's compete with a ready-made pasta and get the pasta culture, which was starting to come in. And one of the things which the research showed, because it was for ITC Foods and they did a lot of market research, it showed that women want to try new food, but there is a big risk involved of the husband or child saying, "Ye kya banaya, acha nahi hai." And that acha nahi hai in 2004 was like the worst thing the housewife could hear. So we said, how do we force an entry into the school, into the child? And the way we did it was we did a complete school activation program where we did, campaigns at schools. And as a part of that, the children took the cab pack home, and the mother had instructions on how to cook it. And they said, आज हमने ये स्कूल में खाया है, आप भी बना कर दे दो. And we did that, and we did a whole lot of customer activation stuff. I remember we wanted to give bowls for kids to take home, and we had got nice samples from the market to show our client that you need to probably send a nice ceramic bowl like this with the child. And the product manager immediately, he started thinking budget and saying, "Arey, ye to 20 rupees ka hai, plastic ka 2 rupees mein aa jayega." And we immediately admonished him and said, the 2 rupee bowl is going to go to the maid's house and not stay in the house. You want branding, spend on that. And we did those kind of investments. And I think the moment was that 2 weeks after the school campaign, there were a lot of tie-ups with organized retail chains. Stock which was meant for 3 months got sold out in 2 weeks. And there was another month in those days before the stock came in. And more surprisingly, there were also a post-launch research done because we had done some campaigns, print and outdoor. And the researcher actually called our client and said that something is wrong with the research. Typically, source of awareness of brand is normally print or TV, and here everybody is saying school. So what is it? Like, where is the error? And we were very happy because it was a very high risk campaign. Not doing TV, just doing activations, reaching customers directly. We knew it was a slow burn, but we said it's a new product type also, and we needed to do that. And I think for me, that was a point of learning that every time the standard formula does not work. To do a campaign in 2004 without TV was a high risk move that paid off fantastically. To us, the fact that the insight said that the housewife will not buy it unless and until she's forced to, and we use the child to force her, that was a real use of a customer insight, which is why I say customer centricity. If we had not owned that research, if we had not accepted this is the customer's behavior, we wouldn't have run a campaign like that. So it taught me why you need to listen to your customers. It was very easy to ignore and do a big TV campaign and show a kid saying, "Mummy, ye khareed lo," but maybe it wouldn't have done the job. Uh, think differently. Do something which has never been done before. Putting 50% of your campaign in an activation was unheard of, but we did it and with some fantastic results. So it really opened my mind as a marketer to the possibilities that are there and the fact that rules matter, but sometimes breaking the rules even matters more.
Nice. That is actually very interesting. Okay, so that is perfect. I think the campaign that you told is very interesting. And if I talk about in digital media, so is there any innovative campaign you can tell to our audience?
Digital, it's very difficult because you're consuming such a lot all the time. But in the middle, there were these lot of campaigns on where there were hurried screenshots and freeze on the product fitting right, etc. I think I liked those because those kind of showed how you could actually use the product because on the model you had to fit the product right. So I think some of these tools of digital I have liked, but when you say a proper digital campaign, somehow nothing comes to my mind because I guess you're scrolling so much, it's very difficult to kind of
The
remember.
attention span is so less.
Attention span is so less, and everybody kind of imitates a trend. So original content is not really coming out as much as it used to, for sure.
Right. Talking about digital, you are a LinkedIn top voice. What makes content stand out in the sea of sameness today? Let's talk about this only because I've seen so many people, they just curate, but actual creation is happening at a very less level, lower level.
I think ChatGPT has made it worse. So I
Yeah.
think the point here is that how much of yourself are you willing to put in? And I know that as a marketer, I want to put 100% of myself out there. So that commitment from my side, I think definitely puts a different kind of pressure on me when I'm creating content. I'm also interacting a lot with my audience. Some people do it in comments, some people do it in DMs. And I like when some of the things youngsters are asking questions or on writing and saying, I didn't understand what you mean, or isn't this a different perspective? So surprisingly, a lot of the good conversations happen on DMs, not in comments, because comments is in public and everybody wants to sound very intelligent there. But the reality is that I listen to that. And of course, I'm measuring my metrics. I actually keep a watch on, which of my posts are doing well, which of the posts are getting good engagement, what is the kind of content, much like you are seeking from your audience, what is it that they want to hear more of, they want to see more of. So I do keep a tab on that. And I am also thinking of things to share all the time. So on my iPhone, in my notes, you will always find me scribbling suddenly in a meeting or out somewhere because I've seen something and say, hey, this could be something interesting to think about and write perhaps a week later. So I'm also constantly, putting this pressure on myself that how do I get some good ideas sticking and going and, connecting with people.
Right. No, that is a pressure.
It
I
is a
really
pressure.
that
You
was
are a content creator. You should know that. I could
yeah.
only do LinkedIn. I don't think I could ever be an Instagram content creator.
Instagram even I don't do. I only just put Twitter and LinkedIn. That's all. Instagram is very tough.
Absolutely, too much time.
Too much time and you have to go in front of video every time you need to. I will rather do a
Absolutely.
podcast. I will talk on the podcast. That is better for me.
Yeah.
So tell me one thing. What do you look for when mentoring young professionals in building their own brand voice?
I also want to understand because a lot of people write for mentoring, and what they want is they also want you to figure out what's wrong with them and tell them what to solve it. Now, that is something I'm not comfortable with me, but I would be comfortable with youngsters, and there are many, many such youngsters who are very clear what they want to do. They just want to know how to go about it, or they have thought of a path, and before they get onto the path, they come and say, "Is this the right path? How should I approach it? What should I do? What are the steps?" uh, Also in your conversations you can figure out how open they are to feedback and criticism, because if you're mentoring somebody you also need to tell them what to correct. And I think the acceptance of criticism or acceptance of areas of improvement is a very, very good sign as to will you be able to successfully mentor that person or not. Because I can give you feedback, but if you're not going to do anything about it, then you can go to 10 mentors and still not achieve much. So the willingness to learn and the openness to learn is very, very important for me when I kind of mentor young entrepreneurs or brand owners or even students who reach out to me through LinkedIn.
Got it. As a woman leader in marketing, what's one story that changed your belief about influencer leadership?
I think more than marketing, like I also love the one thing which I love doing is going to B schools and giving guest lectures. There are two parts of it I love. One is the preparation, because sometimes the topics given to you may not necessarily be the work you're doing. So I also do a lot of homework and prep, and it becomes interesting to see things from a different perspective for a few days for that guest lecture. Second is when I interact. And I remember I went to this one B school. It was Manipal University, Jaipur, and they sent two students to pick me up from the airport. One was a young girl. She was clearly a little shy and introverted. And her first question to me was, "Ma'am, आज जब आप stage पे खड़े रहोगे and there are 300 of us sitting, nervous नहीं हो जाओगे?" And I was always extrovert. I never had a problem speaking to people. And I was like, "Why should you be scared?" I said, "If you know what you're talking, wouldn't you also talk confidently?" And she said, "No." And to me, it was, why is a young girl who is obviously in a great institute and has reached there on merit nervous about saying what she wants? So to me, the fact that there are so many such girls, even guys, but more girls, and girls who want to do it but are thinking they can't do it, is a challenge I want to kind of accept and correct upon. Because if voices cannot be heard, what's the point of having a voice? So to me, that was a big inflection point, that why today young girls or youngsters feel they cannot reach such platforms. It was a big learning for me.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
When you go for guest lectures, so I think this is something, uh, when you interact with university students, perspective changes a lot and a lot of things happen.
And some of them ask very provoking questions, which
Yes,
gets me thinking, which definitely gets me thinking.
yes, this has happened with me, like from the university that I have passed out. So they asked me to come like yearly 1 or 2 visits. So whenever I go, so like talking to
You'll
the
be mobbed.
yes, like it is totally different perspective. People are, and you
Yeah.
also keep on thinking, okay, yeah, this is something.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, people ask, what are you doing in retail? Doesn't everybody buy? So, like, why do you need marketing? Now, that's something you never think anybody would ask you, but they ask.
But they ask
Yeah.
certain questions are like, yeah, yeah, the basic. But then when you answer it, you think like, yes, I think yeah, something.
True. True.
Somebody asked somebody at the garage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much.
You also advise startups, right?
Yes.
So like you have advised startups towards Series A and help retail SMEs 5x their ROI. So what is the most common marketing mistake we have seen these brands make? Because startup ecosystem is right now growing, and many of the startup founders are watching right now.
So I think the biggest mistake, and that's true for whether you're a startup founder, mid-sized founder, or even a company, is everybody thinks they are the consumer. And because they see the product 100 times a day at work, the customer is seeing it 100 times a day at work. And hence they work on solutions which is talking to such a customer. The reality is the customer is very rarely thinking about your category or brand unless and until when they need to use it. And they're definitely not seeing your product 100 times a day. They are maximum seeing it twice a day if they are a user and you're a daily use product, or when they are scrolling in the Instagram. So I think that's the biggest mistake they give, and hence they assume customer knows everything they need to know about the brand or what is unique about the brand, and they don't tell it as well as it is because it's understood कि इसको तो पता होगा ना, मतलब क्यों नहीं पता है मेरे brand के बारे में. So I think that's the biggest challenge, and getting people to realize that go out, talk to 10 people, they may not recognize your brand. I think that's the worst blow any entrepreneur would face. That I don't think so many people, I didn't expect so many people not to know my brand. So I think that's the primary mistake. Even in advertising days, when we sat with clients, our biggest battle was to tell the client, you are not the customer. You are the brand custodian. So you know the brand in and out. The customer doesn't know. And that challenge still remains.
Right. And to overcome all of these challenges, what is your go-to framework you tell to startups or founders when they sit with you, how to position your brand and overcome all of these challenges?
So again, it's a very old school marketing funda. I've modernized it. It's a KYC, but it's a 3 KYC. It's
Okay.
know your customer. Yeah. Because if you don't know your customer, what his motivations, what he is missing, what he wants, you can't do. The second is know your core as in the brand core. What is your brand's real offering? How does it really solve a customer problem? Or how does it make his life easy? Or how does it fulfill a desire? And finally, know your competition. Not many people pay attention to knowing the competition. They think we are the best, we will continue being the best, but your competition is doing a lot. And by seeing what your competition is doing, how they are gaining, you actually learn a lot more. So I think all three are equally important, but I see the competition aspect being missed out by many. So I would say the 3 KYC formula should really be how any brand is approached and any marketing is approached. So even when you're doing a product creation, do your KYC because that's how you will reach a more sharper positioning statement, sharper reason, even change what you're building because a product needs to work for the customer, not for you.
Right. And I think that's where many founders go wrong. They fall in love with their idea.
And they fall in love with their idea. They have built it. It's like nobody thinks their child is bad looking. All kids are cute.
Right. But when the reality hits and the feedback comes in, that's where they get crushed.
True. Or the market doesn't buy your product the way you thought it will fly off your Instagram store.
Right. That's why I think pivoting is very important.
Very important, and having an outsider perspective. Can you be in the room and yet be outside the room?
Right. A lot of criticism you need to take.
I think more than criticism, I would call it feedback because everything may not be criticism, but feedback is very important.
And willingness to take it.
Willingness to take it, willingness to listen to other perspectives. I hold gut also very important, but gut should not become about your love for the product.
Right.
Yeah, it's a
Lot.
fine line.
Right.
It's a
So
fine line.
right now, talking about the current trends, AI is like on boom. Everybody is AI, AI, AI. From AI marketplaces right now to digital malls, so many things are coming up. Like the world is going nuts. What are the 2 to 3 retail trends in marketing you are most bullish on for the next 3 4 years?
I think AI has a good thing because if AI is used for data analytics, and a lot of young D2C brands are doing that, you can actually create products which your customer want. And when I say create products your customer want means it's also ensuring a better profitability because you will sell more of what you made. You will have less of dead stock or less of stock which you're selling at discount. So your profitability will improve. So I would say use AI for more like data analytics and predictive analytics because it's really good for that and it's really meant for that. I would not recommend it for content creation, except for, of course, easing, things like photography, models, video clips, etc., etc. Don't use it for ideation. Use it for execution of creator. That is something I would say. And I would say that the physical retail space still holds a lot of potential. It's where you can have your best conversions, you can have your best, bill sizes. So please focus on that. Today, people are creating stores as a place where people can go and see and come and buy online. Customer will do that. But if you give a great experience in store, they will actually buy a lot more at their place, and that's where. And that's a big difference I see in a lot of Indian retail brands versus international brands. Like if I go to a Zara or a M&S store, 80% of the merchandise is matching what is online. But it's almost 50-50 when you go to any Indian retail chain. And that's because they have decided not to put the products, not that they can't put the products. So, you know, a lot of people say online, offline, big nahi raha hai, but then you're not putting the right products there. So how will it sell? So it's a big challenge. Yeah, that's how I would do
That
it.
is interesting. Actually, if we see, then there is one thing that I've seen in market. When people talk about marketing, they just think about only ads. They don't think about the basics: product, price, place, promotion. I keep on
Right.
telling this to my customers. Yesterday or day before yesterday only, I was sitting with one of our customers. So he runs a uh, bar, pub, brewery kind of a place here. So I was telling him that digital is important for you. You have put hoardings, but this is the thing that will be helping you build a lot of things. You need to be on WhatsApp. You need to do all of this. So I was giving him, but then he be like, no. And then I tried to explain him for the next 30 minutes, but then he still be like, no.
Oh, I think for him, you're right. If he shows a great ambience where youngsters know they can come and have a good time, they're going to get people. If he makes a quirky cocktails or some, finger foods and actually has his chef or his bartender make it, he's going to get some crazy, impressions
Traction.
and
That's
likes.
what I
And
told.
that's
And
what,
he's one
yeah.
of those three guys who are doing the same thing in their other only three places like that.
And that is what a lot of these new age restaurants and cafes are doing. The way they are presenting food, the way they are curating menus, the way they are curating experiences. I think that is what is, big brands need to learn from.
Right.
I
That
would
is,
really think that. Yeah.
and this guy, like, uh, though his place is new age, but he's not able to think for the audience that will be there. But yeah, it is what it is. So that is something we all face, I think, with our customers. So
Yeah.
trying to just
So you will understand what I say when the customer thinks he's the brand, the brand
yeah.
owner thinks he's the customer. That's
And then
exactly the challenge you're facing.
exactly, I told him, let us follow the data. Let us see what the data is saying. Let us see what our,
Correct.
we will take all our perceptions, put it in one place, A/B test, and we will get the answer. He says, no, I know my customer. I said, okay. You know your customer, let it be. I will experiment it for a week and then give you the insights. Then I will do mine.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So just one case study for our founders who are watching this to also give them a realistic idea how things go.
Yeah, yeah, that's the real world.
Yeah.
And it's a young category like a pub. So, all the more scary that why would you not do that?
Yes, exactly. And you have to drive footfall. So that comes with another challenge.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So now I have asked all the major questions that I had with the audience, with myself, getting all your brains into the place for this episode. Now I have some rapid fire type of a questions. So I will be asking you those before we moved on to our final question.
Yeah.
So, uh, like starting with campaign you wish you had created.
I think Swiggy had done these campaigns with that uncle, no? He orders one gulab jamun, quietly eats it. I think those were really insightful. Those were built for the audience because not only was it built for Swiggy as a brand, but saying how different customers order differently. Subtly, they said, "Ek gulab jamun bhi aap order kar sakte ho." And then, I think it was obviously played a lot online, but they also played it a lot on TV channels for sports channels. So they got that audience also right. So I think it was in 360 degrees a complete campaign. And a campaign which made you laugh, you could watch it 100 times in each over break also and still not get bored and still get the laughs out of it. So I really wish I can crack a campaign like that someday.
We hope you do that soon. Another question. A word young marketers overuse.
Authenticity, but they somehow forget the meaning of it.
They just say it as a word,
Yeah.
not as an action.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, got it. In the current era, offline marketing or online marketing?
The world is online, so I don't think there is offline marketing per se because it is online marketing which is driving even what offline visibilities. Today, newspaper ads come with QR codes to make the ad come alive. So you couldn't have a bigger case for online.
Right.
So yeah, even I do 70-80% of my marketing online.
True. Your biggest current content inspiration? Where
Uh, Actually, there are two because I can never choose between them. I know them personally, I know them professionally. So I really, really admire them as D2C entrepreneurs, now VCs, people who are very marketing and customer centric. Uh, Arjun Vedya and Shantanu Deshpande. Two people I really admire a lot of, and I never miss anything that they put out as content.
that's awesome. I will also start following them. We will
Oh
learn more.
my God, if you haven't, you really missed a lot. So be ready to grapple, enjoy and grab everything they say.
I will follow them on LinkedIn today after this podcast.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Now coming to a final question. If someone listening this episode is trying to market something truly new, what's
Yeah.
your golden rule for earning trusted attention in a crowded world as a brand?
Uh, Explain to the customer why it is so totally new. And you should be really confident it's completely new and it's going to change the world. I mean, is it really as new as the iPhone was when it first came up? Or, the year AirPods were when they first came up, or a Tesla car when they first came up. All of us love to think we are doing unique. It's very, very, very different to come with a new product category. You can come with a new brand. So first, be really sure of it, and then just ride your uniqueness, own it. Don't try to say it's replacing something currently. Make it say you didn't know you were missing out on this, and just splash that around.
FOMO.
Absolute FOMO.
Creating FOMO.
Yes.
Got it. On that note, I think we have covered it all. And first of all, thanks to you for giving us this information. Secondly, thanks to our audience for listening this episode to here. And before I, go ahead with my standard speech of closing, would you like to add anything, Jermina?
I enjoyed this conversation, and I have also started, enjoying some of the episodes of Young Turks. So I really hope you get a lot more people, maybe Shantanu and Arjun also someday, and you can be sure I'll be the first to watch those episodes and continue creating the magic that you create. And thank you for
Thank you so
having
much.
me.
That means a lot. That is actually very motivating for me. So, on that note, first of all, thank you to our audience. Thank you to you, Jermina. And guys, please, like, subscribe, share, and engage on this episode if you like it. I will be posting Jermina's LinkedIn link. You can go talk to her if you don't want to post in the public forum, or you can reach out with your questions to us when we launch the episode. And with that, we'll be back soon with another exciting episode on our podcast series, the Young Turk Dialogues by Crobstacle. Till then, have a great day. Bye.